I value your time as a viewer, so if you just want to quickly copy the build and hop back into the game, I made this infographic for you. The download link can be found in the pinned comment. All I'm asking is to kindly leave a like if you found it helpful, and maybe share the video to your friends. Rin is all about maintaining her stance to improve the damage of her attack cards. Whenever an ally attacks through an ability, Rin's stance is disabled. By default, Rin can enter her stance through 4 out of her 8 cards. Things do change when you finally get the best Epiphany upgrade for Destruction. This Epiphany allows Rin to move both her hardest hitting cards into your hand, namely Annihilation and Black Dance. The best part about this upgrade is that it doesn't just draw from your draw pile, but rather, it moves both cards into your hand whether it came from the draw pile or the graveyard. However, there is a catch. The default card effect where Rin enters her stance when Destruction is used is now removed. Therefore, you'll be left with only 3 cards for Rin to enter her stance. This makes it harder to play Rin as she gets closer to her final build. Here are some tips to help Rin maintain her stance. If you really need to use the attack cards of Rin's teammates and have 1 card that allows Rin to enter her stance, make sure to have enough AP to use Rin's card as the final action. This allows her to re-enter stance and make sure it is active on the start of the next turn. Sometimes, skipping the attack cards of the support is the play. A lot of supports in the game don't necessarily need to use their attack cards, especially if they aren't built for damage. Lastly, Inner Art allows you to retain Rin's stance for 1 turn. This means that if Rin has her stance active and you use this card, Rin's stance won't be removed, even if her allies use their attack cards. Just remember, it doesn't activate the stance, it retains it. The only issue with Inner Art is that you want it to get its Epiphany that turns it into an upgrade card. The upgrade effect increases Rin's attack card damage by 50% when stance is enabled. This is a very powerful buff since it is multiplicative. The downside is that it removes the default card effect where Rin retains her stance. So now that you know how to play Rin, let's talk about maximizing her damage. First is Annihilation. Annihilation is Rin's most reliable high damage attack card. There are 2 viable options to pick for its Epiphany, which is dependent on how you play. The plus 100% damage amount option is the best pick if you are trying to maximize your vulnerable stacks. The 100% damage increase is multiplicative, means it will straight up double the damage of the card, but removes the extra hit. Next is the 6-hit option, which synergizes well with morale buffs or any other additive buff. If we assume 5 morale for this 6-hit option versus 1 vulnerable stack for the 100% damage option, then they will deal similar damage. Ray has an Epiphany on Dark Condensation that increases an attack card's damage by a 150% flat amount. This synergizes extremely well with the 6-hit option, since each hit will gain an additional 150% attack modifier. After all, a 150% additive increase is technically 7.5 morale stacks. Next is Black Dance. There are 2 ways to maximize the damage of Black Dance, which is to have enough skill cards to increase the total hits and provide additive damage increase to each hit, while Ray can provide a 150% additive increase to each hit. The problem is that Ray doesn't have enough skill cards to cap the total hits of Black Dance. On top of that, using the Dark Condensation to increase Black Dance's damage already means Ray will have 1 less skill card. Orlea can easily cap the amount of hits Black Dance could do due to the amount of skill cards she can retain on your hand. With the updated Orlea build I released recently, it can also have a source of morale increase through sadism. This makes Orlea a lot more favorable at maximizing the damage output of Black Dance, even if Black Dance doesn't synergize well with vulnerable stacks. In Basin, I don't really use both at the same time since they have overlapping roles as an amplifier. You can just pick one of the 2 that fits into your playstyle. Both if you are into that, but personally, I don't like playing Rin without a deck manipulator in Basin. When it comes to Divine Epiphanies, Rin can use 2, but only needs 1 or the other. The first and best option is to get the AP cost reduction on Annihilation. Annihilation doesn't need duplicates, which means it will be the only Divine card in your deck which prevents overloading your faint memory. The second best option is to get the AP bonus on Destruction. This will replicate the effect of having a cost reduction on Annihilation, since technically, you are only using 1 AP to use both Annihilation and Black Dance per Destruction. Maybe that was confusing. For example, if you manage to get the cost reduction for Annihilation, using Destruction to move both Annihilation and Black Dance on your hand means you will only need 1 AP to use both. If you manage to get the AP bonus on Destruction, using Destruction grants you 1 AP, which means that using both Annihilation and Black Dance would technically require only 1 AP. The results are the same, but the reason why the cost reduction on Annihilation is better is due to the fact that you'll be replicating Destruction cards. Replicating cards with Divine Epiphany would require higher Faint Memory. As mentioned earlier, a Divine Annihilation doesn't need duplicates. If you really need a third option, having the morale and resolve increase on Inner Art is pretty good. You can also choose to duplicate it to have a 100% attack card damage increase. That's a permanent double damage increase effect, excluding the effect of morale and resolve. Every other detail of the build can be found on the infographic. Moving on, let's talk about Rin's potential teammates. The most common team setup is an attacker, deck manipulator, and a sustain. On short runs, the sustain could be either Ray or Orlea. I already explained earlier on which one you should pick. It simply depends on your playstyle. However, with the recent buff on the memory fragment sets, the 4-piece Void set is now a strong option for Rin. While Ray has her snack time to exhaust cards, it's not entirely reliable unless you somehow manage to get a lot of duplicates. You can give Ray more neutral cards that have the exhaust passive, but she will eventually run out of cards to exhaust eventually. Orlea, on the other hand, has infinite cards to exhaust, since she will just keep creating more creatures per turn, assuming that you have her Sacred Sensor upgrade that allows her to generate random creatures per turn. For deck manipulators, there's always Beryl and Veronica for a more offensive playstyle, while there's Cassius and Nia if you just really want pure deck manipulation. Now that we have all the information we need, let's talk about how I run Rin in Zero System. Let's start with using Orlea as the sustain. Orlea is very clunky with her base kit, and she could barely sustain the team with her inconsistent creatures. The way I build Orlea also doesn't help, since I don't get to pick her Epiphany upgrades that improve her sustaining capabilities. This means that with Orlea, I prefer running Rin with another sustain. It doesn't particularly need to be a full sustain. For example, I really like running Ray as a sub-healer, and her kit synergizes well with Rin. Shielders are also a great alternative to Ray, since they don't necessarily focus on just sustaining the team, but also tries to deal damage, or even apply debuffs like how Magna does. Rin, Ray, and Orlea are my go-to team when doing City of Mist. I only have them at level 50, but managed to clear difficulty 10. Another team that I like using with Rin is Haru and Mika. Haru doesn't necessarily spam attacks, since she just wants to perform big bursts of damage. This is good for Rin, since Rin doesn't want her teammates to be attacking too much. Most importantly, Haru has skill cards with the Retain effect. Both Charge Energy and Lift Anchor have the Retain effect, which helps Rin's Black Dance increase its total hits. Fun fact, my current best Rin build came from Foretold Ruin, where I ran her with Haru and Mika at difficulty 10. I'd like to recommend Veronica since she can draw Rin's cards while Ballista doesn't cancel Rin's stance. However, the problem with Veronica is the lack of skill cards, and she doesn't have sustaining capabilities aside from her small shields, so she can't pair well with Orlea. You can still go with Veronica and Mika, but it requires a lot of work if you want Black Dance to deal some serious damage. Overall, I would consider Rin as one of the strongest damage dealers with very front-loaded damage. Rin from the beginning to the end of a Chaos or Zero System run is very reliable. Her kit just looks overwhelming at first, but she is actually not a very complex combatant once you get to play her multiple times. One of her underrated features is the Haste passive on her attack cards. Haste allows you to attack without having to worry about decreasing the enemy's action count. This is very effective against certain bosses like the Blue Pot's final boss or Judas. I have played a lot of the top-tier damage dealers with the same level of investments, and I'm honestly confused where the idea that Rin is underwhelming is coming from. Getting a 2-turn clear on Dimensional Twilight can be a good way to measure the capabilities of an attacker. Of course, it is not the end all-be-all place to compare different attackers. In one of my videos, Rin has managed to get a 2-turn clear on Dimensional Twilight 10 while only being level 50. Again, I'm not saying that getting a 2-turn clear means everything, but it has its merits. It proves that Rin has a crazy amount of front-loaded damage. She is also consistent at dealing high amounts of damage with just 2 AP by using her card that moves both her hardest-hitting cards into her hand. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one.